Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namah. So again, welcome to you, each one of you, and very happy to be with all in our weekly satsang or Q&A, quest and exploration. This time from Buenos Aires, told you, from my mom's house. Another my mom's house is the place I was basically born. I mean, not born in the house, but living here since day 2 after the hospital, let's say, till age 19, till I moved, or 18, till I moved into the ashram. So lots of memories, lots just walking by nearby, coming to my house. It's a long trip from the other place where I was coming here. Lots of sensations and things coming, and further integration of the different layers and dimensions of experience, past, present. So interesting experience to be here again. Later I may do some little clip here. My mom did a whole Christmas clip. I think I sent last year a clip. I'll send another one because it's too impressive, it's too big. Her whole room is now a Christmas crib. So she's sleeping somewhere else on the floor here, like we're quite renounced. And she made her whole room a Christmas crib, basically. So that's very interesting. Donating her comfort zone for the pleasure of the Lord, so to say. And the Christmas crib lasts for 6 months a year. So it's not here. It's here to stay, basically. It doesn't last for a few weeks for Christmas, but it's still now made, and it will still be here for a month or so. And now I think it takes her like 2 months to dismantle the whole thing, and then like 2 other months to put it again, and then she keeps it almost every whole year. So it's a very Christmas-like place here. Surrounded by it now. Anyhow, so happy to be with all of you, and let's start. I see a few raised hands. So Katie, and then Jugal Kishore. So Katie, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Maharaj. I was thinking today about how human life and walking the spiritual path, we are asked to hold the tension of a lot of opposites. And one of those opposites that kind of came to mind to me is, on one hand, being fully present with who we are right now, practicing presence, being authentic with who we are, where we are, honoring our needs, and navigating the interplay between that, and then also, as Deva Madhava, I think he captured this so nicely in his TED talk the other recent weekend with Bhakti Rasa. He said, as a conditioned soul, we also have the tendency to be selfish, and we have lusty desires and things that we don't necessarily just want to listen to and uninhibitedly act upon. Spiritual life involves some level of restraint. And so I was wondering if you could speak on navigating the interplay between being where we are and who we are and acknowledging our needs, and also acknowledging the need to practice restraint and walking the spiritual path with the do's and the don'ts that we have been given. How do we know when to act and when not to act, and when to listen to something and when to not choose? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is one of those, I don't know if it's a question, or of course I see it most like an invitation to reflect on something that needs to be reflected up on a daily basis. It's not one of those questions of like, okay, which is verse such and such, or something more specific that may be more, maybe replied in a more closure-like way, although I don't even like that. But this type of invitation is an ongoing conversation. So how to navigate acceptance of where we are now, honoring our condition, as limited, as conditioned, as imperfect as it may be, while simultaneously, paradoxically, as beautiful and glorious as it is. So how to honor that with full acceptance, and how to honor restraint as well, honor boundaries, honor the role of rules, and remain aware of all of our potential in all its possible directions. I will say that's probably the way I like to frame it, no, in terms of potential, because that's who we are, right? Who we are. There are so many ways we can reply who we are. Of course, one of those is we are Tatastha Shakti, no, using a term from scripture, our tradition, Tatastha Shakti, sometimes translated as marginal energy. Which basically means we have endless potential in endless directions, right? So, and by this I implies and just to be simplistic, let's speak in two terms. We are Tatastha Shakti. There are three Shaktis, again, talking very simply. Three Shaktis, three energies. We, Jivas, Jiva Shakti, Tatastha Shakti. Material energy, Maya Shakti. Spiritual, divine love, Swarup Shakti or Bhakti Shakti. So we are somehow in between those two, if just to put it in some way, in the sense that our choices will be informed whether by Maya Shakti or Swarup Shakti. So our potential, in other words, who we are as a unit of potential, as Tatastha Shakti, will express itself accordingly, depending on which is the Shakti we are taking shelter in, right? Maya Shakti, Swarup Shakti. So we have endless, unlimited, beautiful potential in terms of loving, if we embrace that particular influence in our lives, Swarup Shakti, Bhakti, love. And we have endless, unlimited, horrible potential if we choose to live a life distracted from who we are and what it is. If we choose to live a life of illusion and confusion, there's no limit how low we can get. That's my point. I don't want to scare anyone, but we should be scared. Also, we should be sobered, not scared, not neurosis intended here. But we should be sobered by the fact that as much as we have endless, beautiful, high potential, we can also express the potential that we in itself are. We are potential in a very dark direction. So I think it's something very important in terms of what we are talking now, restraints. What's the role of restraints? Restraints for me is more something like there's rules. We have talked about many times about rules or do's and don'ts, yama, niyama, rules and regulations, regulatory principles. You use the name you want. All of these prescriptions are there to, to facilitate the expression of our potential in the most ideal form, according to the situations we are, right? So it's always a very fine line between, honoring where we are, and of course it's important to experience contentment and joy and being happy where we are in terms of the gift that have come to our life, and appreciating so many things and being grateful. But also that has to be done in a way, of course, that doesn't conduce to complacency or conformism and so on. And in the context of that, we may end up transgressing certain things that do not necessarily need to be transgressed. So in our Bhakti tradition, the restraining department, so to say, and we always say that, and we always will continue to say that, actually restraining doesn't come first in the list. The don'ts that do not come. We always say the do's and don'ts, not the don'ts and do's. Okay. I'm saying that because sometimes we frame it in the opposite direction. And we end up defining our practice and defining who we are many times in terms of don'ts first. What we are not, what we don't do, and so on. And there is a place for something of that as we have experimented in our study of the third verse of Shikshastakam, right? We started speaking about what healthy humility is not, what healthy tolerance is not. So there is a place for starting with what this is not. But I would say in cases like this, I would say it's better to start to what it is. So who we are, what do we practice? So instead of saying, okay, what do I have to restrain from? Maybe the question is, what do I have to absorb in? Now, where do I have to put my attention in? And naturally, that implies a certain type of restraint or a certain type of, whenever I put my attention somewhere, I'm distracted from something else. Always some form of attention implies some form of distraction. So always, if I'm, again, attentive to reality, I'm distracted from illusion. Let's put it that way. I'm inattentive to confusion, if that makes sense, and vice versa. So I will emphasize always the positive side. That's what Krishna does in the Bhagavad Gita when he's speaking about Param Drishya Nivartante, the higher taste. Srila Prabhupada will translate. And basically, he's saying there, when one has a higher taste, naturally, whatever is lower, maybe it's no longer attractive at all, but it's not as attractive as it was before having the higher taste. So I can still be attracted to some things, but having had a deeper experience of reality, I won't be like carried by force in that direction, because now I have a second option, and now I have a second experience, which is higher in quality, by the way. So even though there's some pull in the direction of whatever, lust, greed, stuff like we know that maybe that we need to apply some restraint to, I've had a higher taste, a higher experience. And of course, these words assume that we are having that experience, right? Because it's not that, okay, I'm part of the Krishna consciousness movement, so that means that I'm having the higher taste. Hopefully so. You may be, again, in a Bhakti name, but on an experiential level, there is no higher taste. And therefore, the question can, and naturally in that moment, we'll feel more and more called in other directions, in the direction of other tastes. So the restraint for me is more not, okay, exercising some discernment, but on the foundation of having had a higher taste. Because if you don't have any deeper, broader experience than the thing that I want to restrain from, I won't be able to restrain from anything. I will basically repress myself. And that's not restraint. So we have to make a difference between restraint and restraint and repression. Now, restraint means, okay, I'm feeling this attraction, this call to whatever, to be self-centered, to overindulge in something, whatever that may be. You choose your Achilles heel. But I'm not being carried by that. And I understand from where that's coming. I can see a bigger picture, and I can have a higher taste to take shelter in, to pray in connection to, and I don't need just to be carried away like blindly in that direction. So, and I'm not repressing anything. I'm just accepting the situation. And in certain, whatever the case, again, I'm talking very generally, but in certain things, I need to indulge in some things, not overindulge, but indulge in some things, indulge in eating, sleeping, mating, stuff like that. Most people do that, even devotees, just in case, most of the devotees sleep, eat, and mate, right? Just in case to normalize a few of this stuff. So now the thing is how to do that in a way that is conducive for my bhakti. That's the criterion, and there is no universal answer to that, because what works for one person doesn't work for the other person. So that invites for daily inventory. So is the way I'm engaging with sleeping favorable to my relationship with Krishna? As weird as that question sounds, you may have to ask you that question. It's not that just sleeping means sleeping and no further questions asked. You can ask, I'm sleeping too much and that's getting in the way of my spiritual life. I'm sleeping too little and that's getting in the way of my spiritual life. And the same, and it's not only too much or too little, it's not quantity only, right? So we may spend some time in that. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yukta hara viharasya, yukta chastasya karmasya, yukta swapna ababodasya. One has to be regulated, balanced in one's eating, in one's sleeping, in one's daily activities when one is not sleeping, in one's recreation. Of course, he's not giving the percentage there because each case is unique, but he's making the point, do it in a way that feels balanced to you. Now, that feels balanced means that you don't feel you are repressing and you are like this, how to say, pressure cooker or something, that it's about like to erupt like a volcano at any moment. And so that time when you repress stuff, that happens, right? Suddenly you have this like, so that those are triggers, those are symptoms that are showing to, okay, there's something that needs to be addressed and acknowledged in a more realistic way. So we don't need that level of repression, but also we don't need to overindulge in a way that we become distracted. So a good yardstick is, is this helping me to be, as simple as it sounds, Krishna conscious? No? Conscious means present to the presence of Krishna, of God in my life. No? If I eat too little, like the classical example, right? Just simple example. I don't know. It's Krishna Janmashtami, some devotees fast till midnight. But some devotees, if they fast till midnight, they won't be able to think about Krishna during the whole day. And probably when the time of breaking fast at midnight comes, they won't be thinking about Krishna that time either. Right? So the conclusion of that heroic fasting is you haven't thought about Krishna during the totality of the whole day. Does it make sense? It doesn't make sense to me. But I've seen that happening, right? So we have to fast, again, restraint. And you fast, but your mind is dwelling on pakora, halava, rasagula, and you see the smells, there are 108 preparations coming, but you have to wait till midnight. So it's all about you, ultimately. And from a very tortured place. So that doesn't sound like a birthday party, basically, Krishna's birthday party. You don't want to be part of a birthday party from such a tortured state of mind. For those who can fast in a natural way and that helps them in their absorption, bravo, that's great. But if you cannot do that, and you are the whole day disturbed, distracted, and when the time of breaking fast, you are even more distracted by absorbing yourself in eating, and then you overeat, and then much less you can think about Krishna. You are not able even to sleep or anything. You became officially bodily dysfunctional at that point. Then probably you need to eat something. Maybe you need to eat something before midnight so you can, not for the sake of eating, but so you can remain focused on what's going on that day, right? So that doesn't mean you're overeating to the point that you end up falling asleep the whole day or feeling, sick, but not only undereating if that's too much for your bodily constitution. So that's an example of criterion of how navigating a middle point in a way that feels sustainable for me. And probably that's the great challenge. The great challenge is to develop an inner discernment, an inner how to say, dialogue with myself to know what's what I need now. That's probably the most challenging things of all, that just being told by someone else what to do, what not to do, when to eat, when not to eat. But okay, connecting with myself and what's a healthy level of restraint in whatever activity at this particular chapter of my life. And it may be trial and error. Again, it's not like, oh, but what if I'm trying too much and going too much beyond, too much below? Well, you learn from that and you continue aiming. No? You just fail to aim the center. That's what sometimes translated as sin, hamartia. No? But sin actually meant missing the mark. So it's not speaking about some moral worth issue, but just, okay, we are missing the mark, the central mark. We continue trying, while keeping hopefully the bigger picture in mind of blessedness, of gifts, of gratitude, and accepting. Today in the morning I was reading a book by Carl Rogers, a psychologist. The book is called On Becoming a Person. Very interesting book. And he was speaking a lot about this, actually, casually, the importance of accepting ourselves where we are. I mean, he has this famous quote, I referred to it a few times. He says that the great paradox is that we can only change when we accept ourselves first. Right? You have to first accept yourself fully as you are, and only then you can change whatever you need to change. You cannot change anything if you don't start from a foundation of total acceptance of your current condition, as limited as that may be. No? But accepting doesn't mean staying there forever. It's just accepting. That's there. That's true. That's a fact. Not resist it. Do not deny it. Do not fight against it, but just acknowledge its existence. No? To see it. You have a limitation, imperfection? Yes, I do. All my hands raised. So will I like to go beyond all those limitations, imperfections? Yes, that will feel way more free and okay. So what to do? First, embrace those imperfections and limitations. Accept them, give them a place, and integrate them. As Father Richard Rohr will say, real perfection is not an exclusion of imperfection. Real perfection is an inclusion of imperfection. Real perfection if it's perfect, it must have the capacity to include imperfection, not to exclude imperfection. Because many times we have this idea, no? I want to be perfect, I have to be transcendental, I have to be, and everyone has their own particular superhero template of what it means. And many times that's hyper-exclusivistic of all forms of imperfection. So it becomes a denial, a resistance, a rejection of all things imperfect. And that's basically an absolutely surreal, unrealistic scenario that is disjoined from where we are now. So, yeah, we have to make peace with imperfection, and be perfectly honest in acknowledging our imperfection. No? Let's put it that way. That's perfection. That's the perfection we can always strive for. No, I will try to be as perfect as I can in acknowledging my imperfection. And from that foundation, we can change, knowing that intrinsically, every soul is pure, is sacred, including us, just in case. We are not the exception to the rule. So, because sometimes we forget that, right? In contact with our conditioned sense of identity and perspective of things, sometimes we'll lose sight of who we actually are now and in potential as souls. So that's always sobering and important to bring back to the picture. And even as bad as one may behave, as distracted or distorted or perverted as we may be, which can happen again, we have ever devolving potential as well as ever evolving. On top of that, each of us, ontologically speaking, we are good people. Let's put it that way. Right? So I think it's important to to keep that foundation in place, to understand what's reality and its most irreducible foundation. No, it's not evil, right? They're not evil souls, right? They're not souls that are made of evil. At least that's not our philosophy. It may seem so when you see certain people acting in certain ways, or when we witness even ourselves acting or thinking in certain ways, but again, that's not the ultimate reality of things. So I think that's also important to bear in mind in the context of navigating daily messiness. No, keeping all these ingredients simultaneously coexisting together, right? I don't know. That's what came, Katie, but I don't know if it helps. You tell me, which are your thoughts on this?
Yes, that was really helpful, Maharaj. Thank you. I especially appreciated just the reminder, hearing again about staying in touch, on a daily basis with our inner,
Yeah.
the expression I use, just, yeah, that it's going to look different at different times. And
yeah,
is this helping me? Is this helping me move closer to Krishna? Or, what am I taking shelter of?
yeah. Yeah, it's a daily affair. I know it's unsettling for me to give this type of quote unquote answers, because in one sense I'm not giving any answer. I'm just saying every day be attentive, and every day the answer may be slightly different. So that's unsettling for at least the part of us that wants definitive answers, closure, formulas, conclusive stuff. But I think it's important that we learn to coexist with this constant disclosure, because that's reality, right? That's how reality operates. It's a constant disclosure, an ever fresh unfolding. So things are never the same the next second. So it's important to accommodate to that flow. Yeah, it's I would say it's even dangerous if we want definitive answers to things. Of course, we can say definitively Krishna is God and the soul is eternal. I'm not saying that will change, but the ways we can experience those things, that is meant to always change. So that's my point, right? On an experiential level, things can be always experienced anew. Yourself, God, this world, everything, because everything is in itself in a state of constant update. So we have to be very careful with, again, definitions and words and answers, because sometimes they bring closure and they tend to suffocate the natural expansion of reality, and we need to have that experience. Sometimes that's why we lack certain experiences in life or spiritual life, because we are guiding ourselves with fixed definitions or fixed concepts that do not convey the idea of an ever-evolving reality. So reality keeps evolving, but if I'm not able to articulate that and understand that as such, I may miss the experience. Dr. Rest is putting closure does not bring us closer. Thank you for the play of words. And that's it. Thank you for sharing. Daily vigilance, ki jai. Yeah. And nobody can do that for us. So that's important. No, even if you have the topmost guru in the whole planet Earth, you have to be vigilant for yourself, right? That means to be a disciple. Disciple comes from the word discipline. So discipline then doesn't mean not stop eating and sleeping, but have daily vigilance, have introspection. As I think we were talking last week, we were talking about Swadhyaya, study scripture, meaning meditate on yourself, being introspective, and this being the first word that Brahma heard, tapas, and so on and so forth. That's discipline. No? And again, discipline means something that you need to do a number of times in a way that becomes an habit, and a natural one, not a mechanical one, but that becomes second nature, and that we tend toward observation, introspection, and I know it's not easy. I mean, I think it's important to highlight, especially in the times we are living, it's not so easy to be introspective because all the external stimuli is bombarding us in the opposite direction, right? It's not promoting a capacity of going deep and being attentive in one direction and going deeper into that, but it's just like 5 seconds here, 5 seconds there, 5 seconds there. And so that, of course, affects your brain, affects the way you think and feel and see reality. So we have to, again, have some discipline in how we interact with those contemporary dynamics, also to safeguard, to honor, to respect our attention. No, that's a way to put it. No, respect your attention. No, that's a treasure you have to honor, you have to value. That's the only thing you can offer to Krishna, your attention, your presence. No, if I'm 100% scattered, how much can I offer myself to someone? I'm offering 0.1%, and after 1 second, I'm somewhere else. So gradually, we have to hone our attention, absorption. Use the word you want. No? So, yeah, daily vigilance and introspection has a lot to do with this discipline. Okay, let's turn to Yugal Kishore. He's back on planet Earth today, not doing any cosmonautic issues, following Narad Muni's stuff. So West Virginia's himself.
Yes, and you get to see my my birth name too, because I don't think I changed it today. So
No problem, dear.
now I'm down. So I'll be honest. You know, I saw Katie raise her hand, and I didn't see anybody else. So I was like, okay, I'll just raise my hand. So
yeah, we
I
have
hope
few raised hands today. Interesting, shy
yeah,
Saturday. It's okay.
I know, and I'm feeling a little shy too, because I haven't really, you know, rehearsed any question. But similar to Katie, I think I have still a lot of my mind from the last TAD Talk discussion. And
Which I haven't seen it yet, just in case for you to consider.
sure, but you do know Deva Madhava fairly well and his mood and what his mission of sorts. So I guess the question came to mind. It's not new. It's been in my mind for a little while. And it's about the role of these concepts of equality, or even I could extend that maybe to justice. And we don't normally use those specific words all that often in Gaudiya circles. However, those words are used very commonly in other religious circles. Abrahamic traditions use the concept of justice. That's pretty much at the heart of some of those other traditions. I don't know if there would be a Sanskrit equivalent. I'm sure you would know. But let me ask specifically about equality. You know, how do we understand equality amongst the individuals, you know, people in this world, from a Gaudiya lens? And I mean, of course, you mentioned, you know, defining us as tatastha, as units of potential or units of will or units of desire. I've sometimes put it that way. And yet at the same time, we live in societies, and the principle within an organized society of equality is very important. And specifically in a democratic society, people should be treated equally under the law, regardless of race, gender, national origin, protected categories, etc. Everyone should be treated equally under the law. So is that similar? Can we say that yes, we have a sort of law under that dharma, maybe as a kind of as a structure of law, and that we're all really, in a sense, treated equally that under that institution. If that's the case, can we be free to use those words in Gaudiya circles? Or is that a high conception, or do we say no, that's a lower conception of equality? Because in transcendence, everything is different, everyone is unique, no one's really equal, and justice is actually lower because love is higher. How do we redeem these concepts of true equality and justice, both in this world and in the higher Leela? And if that doesn't make sense, then that's it. I don't expect you to just produce some answer, but because no one else is asking any questions, I hope maybe people feel free to respond.
Makes sense. It makes sense. I think so. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So regarding the word justice, maybe we may not use that word that much because we have the word karma. And that's basically our word for justice. And most of the Abrahamic traditions do not speak in terms of karma, so they don't use karma. So they need to use another word, and that's justice. But in one sense, we are talking about the same thing. Of course, not only us, but also the Abrahamic traditions do not only speak about justice, as you well know. They also speak about grace. They also speak about love. No? Like you have, I don't know, in the Bible, you have eye for an eye. No? And then you have Jesus saying, someone slaps you, put the other cheek. Right? So you have both there. No? There are clearly two different points, and one is not necessarily excluding the other. No, that's important. The important point here, right? It's speaking to different people in different situations. So then we come to the part of oneness and difference and equality and so on. So, of course, in one sense, we are all equal in terms of, in different ways. We are all equal ontologically, no? As a soul. We're all Tatastha Shakti. We'll have the same potential, but we are all different in the way we exercise our potential. And of course, that puts us in different situations, as you, of course, know. Okay, according to law, every citizen is to be seen equally, but as a principle, in principle. But in actual experiential action, each person is behaving differently, and law will take a particular shape to adjust. Now, some people will become a criminal, so law will respond in certain ways. Some people will become a saint, law will respond in another way. So again, the law is the same for everyone, but everyone doesn't behave in the exact same way than the other person. So the same law takes different shapes to accommodate the free will of the expression of the agency of the citizen, so to say. So in the same way, we could say, okay, there's one, if you want to talk about the ultimate law, it's love. In one sense, love is the ultimate law. And it takes different forms and expressions according to how we choose to respond to love. No, sometimes we don't choose to respond at all. We choose to go exactly in the opposite direction. So love will express itself as karma. And karma is still loving, as unloving as it may feel sometimes. It's just a result to something we've done in the past. But karma is not vengeful in nature, chastising in nature. It's just a particular universal law that basically operates in connection to those who are not willing to submit to love in its purest form, so to say. If you want just to surrender to divine grace and mercy, that's why our script says you are beyond karma. Of course, it's not black and white, right? It's not like journalists, we are mixed bag. We are trying to do that, but still we are doing that in parts. So we are doing that in certain proportion. So proportionately to how much we do that, okay, we will be influenced by whether either karma or higher agency, so to say. But in principle, yes, every soul is seen equally. Every soul has all potentials, all possibilities, and the whole. But at the same time, scripture are wise enough to acknowledge most people in this world are not enlightened. So there has to be some system, even if we want to talk in terms of politics or society. Let's take the Varnashram concept of the Vedas, which of course I'm quite well aware that is not something that is current in nowadays society full on, but the gist of the system is basically, let's acknowledge, on principle everyone is equal, but let's acknowledge that every person has different dispositions. So let's engage them in a way that is inspiring to their nature, so they can reach the highest possible level, the highest possible potential. In that sense, there's an equal concern, an equity in that sense. No, even when I'm seeing all your differences, I'm equally concerned for each member, as different as they are from each other, to facilitate the attainment of their potential, whatever there may be. And again, everyone is in a very different situation from everyone else. That's why even you have in our tradition so many books. Now in some other traditions, there's sometimes one book or two books, Quran or Bible or Torah, whatever. And in our tradition, there are so many books. Why? Because there's an acknowledgement that different people are in different situations. So they need to receive different emphasis, different messages, different perspectives, different angles. But at the end of the day, all that is to acknowledging their unity in the sense of they are all souls. They all have equal potential and rights and possibilities. But circumstantially, karmically, experientially, they are in very different places. Let's be honest. So you cannot just treat everyone in the exact same way. That won't be very helpful to people, right? So that acknowledgement is there. So, but karma will be the word for justice in our tradition. I won't doubt it for a moment. And for those who, again, who are willing to open their hearts to the divine, to grace, and to operate from that particular paradigm, karma is no longer necessary. That's why, because you asked about the lila at one point, Yugal Kishore, and how does justice operate in the lila? And that's an interesting question, but actually I will say there's no justice in the lila. But that doesn't mean there's injustice. No, you want to call it trans justice? I mean, justice have been left behind, and that's why many times how the gopis behave in Vrindavan, that doesn't sound moral, right? So it seems that they are transgressing dharma, not because they are immoral, but they are transmoral. No, they are loving Krishna so passionately that the whole thing seems to have done full circle, since that is, again, we are back on planet Earth, we are human beings, whatever they are doing, these cowherd boys and girls seems ordinary, but actually super extraordinary. So it's not immoral, it's not moral, it's transmoral. So you cannot talk about justice there. We are talking about the realm of passionate love, infinite grace and mercy. Other codes are operating.
It's almost like the principle of beauty takes over the principle of morality.
Yeah, that's what happens to the gopis, right? The principle of morality will dictate, well, girl, you're married, you have a position in society, you have family, you have duties at home, you have so many things, ancestry, lineage, and things that you have to hold. But and then beauty calls. Now Krishna plays his flute, and all that morality laundry list dissolves. Dissolves. Actually, technically speaking, it never appears for the gopis, I will say. It's not that they are oscillating. It's not like, well, I have my family and I shouldn't be doing this, but that doesn't even happen. No? So that's the extremity, if you will, of their love. No? They are externally operating as if they are taking care of their duty, but actually it's all for the sake of Krishna's pleasure. They do not for a minute lose their absorption in Krishna. So the whole moral keeping is somehow of a facade in the lila, so to say. Not because, again, they're immoral, but because in love of God, morality attains its highest expression and reach. Morality is not an end unto itself. At least that's our teaching. I mean, you can be a moral person, but I will argue, and more theistic people will say, morality is, if you enter into the realm of apologetics, right? Morality, the ultimate idea for morality, what's good, what's bad, is God. So there's a way to try to make a case for God's existence based on the existence of morality, right? Because if you say, okay, morality means what's good, what's bad, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but who establishes that? What's the absolute ultimate symbol for the good, the truth, the beautiful? And ultimately, there has to be something, someone, we call it Krishna. You can say anyone can call it somewhere, but that's a way of proving God's existence. So if morality exists, or he ultimately points to God's existence, the conclusion is, if you love that ultimate symbol of morality in the deepest possible way, that's the ultimate fulfillment of all morality, right? And it's and when that happens in the highest degree, sometimes that looks even immoral. That's why the love of the gopis is so difficult to understand. That's why our acharyas have cautioned people, like, do not run there, because it may sound immoral, and you don't want to be immoral, an immoral member of society here, justifying that stuff in what the gopis are doing, if you are not there internally, right? So, and the clear example is, okay, the gopis are having extramarital affairs with Krishna every single night. So, oh, that sounds immoral. Yeah, but when they come in the Gaur Leelas, the 6 Goswamis or this or that, but technically speaking, 6 Goswamis are not having direct affairs with, that's another conversation. But when these gopis come as sadhakas, are practitioners to teach in the world and give an example to follow, they're extra hyper moral and more, no? Like Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and so. I mean, internally they are relishing the flavor of serving Krishna in this transmoral way, but when they operate with the codes and laws of the world, they have such behavior. No? Like Mahaprabhu himself, as a sannyasi, he was like so moral. I mean, so strict, so respecting the restraints and boundaries and what the society is expecting from us. And he was so much in place. But in his inner world, he was absolutely lost and found in the extramarital bhava of Sri Radha, Krishna, right? So, and that's the conclusion of the Gita. No? As I always like to say, how does, in one sense, the Gita is known, Bhagavad Gita is known as a book of Dharma. No? Dharma can be translated as duty or moral. What to do. And it begins as that, right? Krishna telling Arjuna, this is your dharma, this is your duty as a warrior, you should do this. If you don't do this, this will be the reaction, blah, and so on. But then at the end of the Gita, Krishna is concluding the whole song, because it's a song, Gita. Sarva dharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja. So he has said all dharma fully, and then at the end he concludes saying, reject all dharma fully. So that sounds utterly contradictory. Of course, you have to read the 650 verses that lie in between those two sections to get the point. But of course, he says, Sarva dharma, all sense of duty religion, parityaja. Tyaja means reject. Parityaja. Paritya means rejected from all directions. Like when you say pariprashnena or parikram, all around. Parityaja, reject all that stuff fully. And now then he points to the ultimate dharma. Mam ekam sharanam braja. Come, braja, to me, mam ekam, exclusively. Sharanam, take shelter in me exclusively. Like implying, he's saying reject all dharma, reject all religion, and then he comes to redefine what's the ultimate dharma or religion, right? Come to me exclusively. Braja, and braja by dwani, by poetic ornamentation, Srila Samaraj will say braja in Sanskrit means come, but braja also means braja, Vrindavan, what the word tells to us first. So Krishna is the ultimate saying, the highest form of dharma is coming to me exclusively in the way that the Brajavasis do, in the way you find that in Braja, how they come to me exclusively, in which form, to which degree they engage in this sarva dharma parityaja. So, yeah, I think it's an important conversation. But of course, we cannot imitate that. If we are not there on the level of the Brajavasis, we have to be honoring some of those codes in this world, especially if we are interacting with society and trying to deliver a message, a teaching. You cannot just like come with the gopis, no, to the world, right? So you have to have integrity and morality and authenticity and accountability and all these important foundational virtues. But it's important to see how when we see an example of divine passionate love, like so many saints, not only the gopis of Vrindavan, even when that form of morality seems not to be there, it's not that it's not there, but it just has been like overwhelmed and like surpassed by something even higher, by the zenith of morality, but the ultimate purpose of that. So I don't know if that makes any sense, Yugal Kishore, or if I
It does. It's making me think that, like, I don't know, I've heard this in some conversations recently, that having this sort of imperial, oh good, Rasangi has a question, so we can go to her next. Having this sort of like imperial vision of God as this autocratic ruler or dictator is inspiring so much dictatorial regimes here now in this world. People are sort of justifying this, that yes, God is also a dictator, so we can also have these same systems here. And something I was speaking with Bhakti Rasa and David Madhava before we went live was in the relationship between a parent and child. Yes, there's a sort of inequality, inherent to that, but only such that the child eventually becomes an equal. I mean, nobody wants to stay in a parental role forever. I think eventually they want to be friends, so this Vatsalya Ras should, I think, lead to a Sakya kind of relationship.
Well,
And
I get your point here, but that doesn't happen in the Leela. It's not that at one point Yashoda and Krishna become friends and the Vatsalya disappear and everyone merges in Sakya. But at the same time, I get your point, and I agree that in one level, and I say that a few times, at least here, almost all relationships should converge into some type of friendship, like whether it is father, children, husband, wife, guru, disciple. There has to be a form of friendship, different types of friendship. Of course, you are not friends with your mom in the same way you are friends with your wife, in the same way you are friends with your guru. But in all of them, friendship is described as an ideal, like converging point. But when we got in the Leela, for example, with Krishna, and his devotees, we have the notion of sthayi bhav. No? Sthayi bhav means fixed. Sthayi means fixed emotion. So it's not that Yashoda loves Krishna as a child, but after a few weeks, she gets bored of that. And okay, let's be friends. Or Krishna, come on, grow. So we become equals. It doesn't happen. Of course, Krishna is the child. No, it's not an ordinary person. So he's an ever-evolving, new, expanding, fresh experience for both. And also, in one sense, we will say, okay, for father-child relationship, there is no equality in the sense, okay, the child is smaller and maintained, and the father is the maintainer, and so on. And the child is dependent on the father in many ways, or the mother, vice versa. But also there's ways to talk about how to say, in many ways, the parents will feel themselves nourished by the child, and not only the child is nourished by the father, the child is learning from the parents are learning from the child. And there is some mutuality in their own unique way of the experience in both. So I will invoke that, at least in the case of Krishna and Yashoda in this case, to not try to push or force. Okay, at some point they have to become friends, right? Because from both sides, both feel being controlled by one another in their own way. It's not that the parents are controlling the child is controlling the parents by the force of affection. And ultimately, in that case, affection is the controller, nor the child, nor the parents. It's love, the ultimate controlling force for everyone involved. So, but
that helps a lot. Yes, thank you. That helps settle this idea about like the male being protector and provider. If I understand that as like in sense of sthayi bhav in the lila, like, okay, that's just that preference of that eternal soul, that eternal aspect of Krishna is providing and protecting for Krishna. You know, that's okay. I just, for myself in this life, I can't imagine only being limited to that role. That's it. This is the card you're dealt. Deal with it.
Yeah, that's why it's important, as much as our current human experiences are potentially can give us a glimpse of the nature of Krishna, the interaction with Krishna, because it's human-like. So there is something to connect there. So we can say on some level, it gives us a hint, but at the same time, it can get in the way if we just compare and make an absolute equal thing between, as you are saying, okay, I can understand how that can happen between Yashoda and Krishna, but I do not see myself doing that. Yeah, of course, because we are not Yashoda nor Krishna. So it's also healthy to make a necessary difference, but also not to make an absolute difference between the human lila and our human experience. No, not to make them entirely the same, not to make them entirely different, right? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Thank you. And let's see if Rasangi's microphone works.
Well, let's see if it's working.
It is.
I don't know why it wasn't working before, but now it's working.
It's
so,
working, yeah.
And I'm sick, but I'm going to still ask because I'm curious. And Maharaj, somewhere in the book, Radical Personalism, you talk about there's a right reason and a wrong reason to accept a guru. And what you say about the right reason, and I can't find it right now, maybe you know where it is, one that's searching here and there and going to all limits to find guidance. I think that's what it's about. That person is qualified. That's a good thing. That one is looking for that. But the wrong reason, I want you to talk about that a little bit more. And then what if you chose for the wrong reason? What then? What if someone hadn't chosen for the right reason? What do they do then? And I think for me, what I think of when people, like, it doesn't matter what you, just get attached to someone because it'll save your soul. It doesn't matter why, which doesn't make sense, except that we think that this is your only chance, the only salvation for you is to find a bona fide guru, no matter why. But then, right, all kinds of problems come up and disharmony. So I'd love you to talk about that a little bit more. Yeah, the right reasons. How does one know one really is ready for that? And then maybe the wrong, and then what to do about that.
Okay. So of course, we can say something. I'll try, but somehow the whole chapter on radical personalism on the topic is it's about that. Chapter whatever, 11 or something. Issues and tissues between guru and disciple. So so right reasons and wrong reasons to accept the guru, how to know when one is ready for that and all that. So, well, to begin with, not everyone, like I think we quoted the other day, someone asked Srila Prabhupada, should everyone accept the guru? And he said, no. Only those who want to know the truth should look for a guru. Not everyone is interested in that. So, to begin with, right? Not to make this a universal, like, law. Everyone should have a guru. No, because not everyone is interested in how to say, ready to pay the price of what it means to have a guru. Because having a guru means you becoming a disciple again. So it's not just about having a guru, it's about doing something yourself. Plus having a guru, but having a guru entails you becoming something in connection to that person. If not, you're not having a guru. It's not just some formal connection, some card-carrying membership, and that's not having a guru. That's why Prabhupada says, if you are not interested in truth, you don't need a guru. Even if you have it, you don't need it, right? If you got a guru just by social pressure, by fashion, by who knows what, but not for looking for the truth, you don't need that guru. You follow my point? I'm not criticizing the guru. I'm just saying you are still not interested in what the guru is actually about. So you may have somehow got the initiation and got the connection on a formal level, but if your heart and your intent is not there, you don't need a guru. The guru will not feel necessary, let's put it that way, unless you have that need of guidance, of having an elder in your life, of having someone that can offer you an example to follow, that can embody your potential and all these type of things. No? As long as there is not that interest, that call, guru is not necessary. This sounds simple, but I think it's important to reflect on that. Because also indirectly it speaks about, okay, when a guru is necessary, and how many times we may think about the guru, but without thinking so much about what we have to do by having a guru. Again, having a guru is not having a guru. It's you becoming a disciple. Both are true. I mean, the guru is if the guru is bona fide, great, and the guru is already a bona fide guru. Now you have to become a disciple. That's something you have to do, right? And again, and that's a gradual process. That's an important point always. It's not like, okay, when I'm fully ready to have a guru, when I'm fully ready, that will mean when I'm fully qualified as a disciple. But the question shouldn't be framed as fully qualified, because that's a never-ending process. Now, if you wait for you to be the fully qualified disciple to be initiated, and who knows which idea you have of that, you may never take a step out of your room. If we wait for ultimate perfection to come to our we approach a guru to attain that ultimate perfection, which in itself is ongoing and ever evolving, of course. But at least there should be the desire of, and this is mentioned in scripture, Srimad Bhagavatam, all these famous verses in Shastra, which speak about the qualities of a guru, all of them speak about the quality of the disciple in the same verse. That's always an important point. There are three main verses in Shastra which speak about this. Bhagavad Gita 4:34, right? Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. Then we have Srimad Bhagavatam 11 something. Don't ask me the exact chapter and verse number, but tasmat gurum prapadita jignasya shriya uttamam sabde parichanishnatam brahmani pasramashrayam. And then we have another verse from the Upanishad, that Vijnanartam Sagurumeva Vigachit Samit Panishrotryam Brahmanishtam. Okay, there my mom is coming with the dog. You will hear me speak in Spanish for a minute. Okay, todavía no terminé, ¿eh? No hay problema. No hay problema.
Can we meet her? Can we meet her?
Okay, quieren verte acá más en la clase. And the dog also. Here's the dog. Here comes my mom.
Haribol.
Haribol, Haribol.
Haribol. Haribol.
We're so thankful to you that you have such a wonderful son. Thank you.
Maravilloso.
Gracias, gracias.
Gracias means thank you.
I can tell. She's so beautiful. Well, she's very beautiful.
Okay.
Haribol. Los dejo, sigo. Chao.
Okay.
Vení, Sol.
10-15 minutos.
Sí, tranquilo.
Okay, so we have some interesting dynamics. So I was quoting those three verses. I was putting you in boring to death with so much Sanskrit, so my mom had to come with the dog, so something more exciting take place. Here we are back now. So these three verses, all of them speak about the qualities of the guru, and all of them speak about the quality of the disciple. And in them say, Jignasa Shriya Uttamam, the disciple has to be seriously inquiring, concerned about the ultimate good, the ultimate value. Now there has to be this commitment of inquiry, so to say. There has to be some seriousness in, I want to know the truth. I want to ascertain the purpose of reality. And of course, not just intellectual curiosity, but I want to do something with it. I want to honor that, of course, to love that, to serve that. It may start as an intellectual curiosity, and once when you discover what's the ultimate reality, naturally, hopefully you will feel drawn to honor and serve it. So, and there has to be an openness, a curiosity, an inquiry, an openness. And on that foundation, we will surrender, like Krishna says in the Gita, pranipat, surrender out of awe and wonder after having some undeniable experiences in connection to sadhus. And that takes to further inquiry, and where our inquiries receives fulfillment and satisfactory nourishment, not necessarily conclusive answers always, sometimes newer doubts and newer questions, but that open the panorama. Seva, no? We want to serve, we want to give our life, our hearts back, and so on and so forth. So these ingredients have to be there in the disciple, right? In this Upanishadic verse that I mentioned, it says Samit Pani, Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. Samit Pani means the disciple has to be willing to bring the wood for the sacrifice. No? It's like a more ancient symbolism, no? Like the guru is engaged in the yajna, swaha, the fire sacrifice. So the disciple goes to the forest and brings the wood, assisting the guru in his sacrifice. But also means you have to present yourself willing to do some sacrifice. Sacrifice of the ego, sacrifice of false ideas and biases and assumptions and interpretations of reality, releasing so many layers of misconception, dying on a daily basis. In connection to a real master, you will be dying on a daily basis so many times. Dying to live, right? Not only dying. being born again and being born again. You have to be willing to release and let go versions of yourself that are obsolete, and embrace the invitation for a newer self, which may feel risky, which may feel like unknown, but of course come from a place of hopefully trust and confidence. So becoming a disciple for the right reasons basically means that. No, not becoming a disciple doesn't mean like I want to have a guru. It's not about having a guru. No, like an ornament. My guru becomes my ornament. No, or like a way of my guru is such and such person. So you know who I am now, right? I belong to this club. I am part of that particular elite. I have my membership card. Not like a way of positioning ourselves as something different from students forever. So yeah, and discipleship is an eternal condition, right? It's something we enter perpetually. It's not that I become a disciple, but at some point I hope I am no longer a disciple. Actually, I become a disciple only to increase my discipleship in eternity. Servant, disciple, whatever word you want to use. So that's basically accepting the guru for the right reasons, no? And taking the time for that, not rushing. And even if in time we realize, okay, great, beautiful, but now I look back, I already accepted the guru, and I realized that I accepted the guru not for those reasons. I was more naive, and there was just some excitement in the group, and they told me, hey, Gurudev is coming, why you don't get the mercy now? You never know. No? Like someone told me the other day, I think it was in the Spanish satsang, it was too much, but sometimes it happens like that. They were telling her like, hey, this whatever certain guru was visiting the local area, so death is very close, so you better get initiated now, right? So it was almost a death threat, you know, right? Fortunately, she didn't got initiated, I will say, but sometimes that type of social dynamics are there, and sometimes we fall victim of that. We are young, we want to belong, but we don't know the difference between belonging and fitting in, and we just do certain things just out of fitting in. And in time we realize, oh my gosh, I accepted this guru just as a social norm, and the guru is fine, he's a great person in my life, but I realized I did not accept him for the right reason. Okay, what to do? Well, you can always accept him or her for the right reason now. No, even if that didn't start it in the ideal way, it can always become closer to the ideal. And even if it started in the ideal way, there's no ideal way. It can always become more ideal, right? As I say before, we will never start being perfect. That makes no sense, right? So, and even on top of that, if for whatever reason, there are so many scenarios that can happen, right? Or you may have taken the time to accept someone for the right reasons from your place as a disciple, and of course, trying to ascertain the qualification of the guru is part of that. But for some reason in time, that particular guru ended up not behaving that properly, as we always talk. That doesn't mean there's some loss in the whole thing. That doesn't mean you need to over-question your intentions to the point that you chastise yourself. Maybe you were as sincere as you could with the toolkit you had at the time, and now you're realizing some things that, okay, you need to move forward and proceed accordingly. But you sincerely started your relationship with Guru, whether in one form or another. Whenever we decide to establish a relationship with the truth, our relationship with Guru starts at that precise moment, because Krishna is the original Guru and he's in everyone's heart. So the moment you decide to establish a sincere relationship with the truth, at that moment begins your relationship with Guru. And Guru is not limited to an individual. They may be vessels through which the Guru principle expresses itself in our life, but through one lifetime, we may be passing through different Gurus, in some cases at least. But at the same time, the relationship is with the same principle through different vessels. And the principle needs to be in place, because if it's just the vessel, I'm just what? starting a personality cult. I'm just worshiping a person separate from the department the person is representing, right? So that's not the idea. So yeah, so it's good to spend some time not only in asking myself, do I want a guru or not, but why do I want a guru? And even if I have a guru, why do I have the guru, and what I'm doing with that? Yeah, so many, again, not in any neurotic spirit, but just in a healthy way of remaining introspective and attentive. Where is this relationship going today? What do you think, Rosangi? Does it help?
Yeah, it's so helpful. I mean, especially because of what you said. Back in the day, I don't know, might still be like that. You know, just kind of your guru is appointed for you. It's like not the same thing. It's not the same animal. It's a very different dynamic. Or it's the fashion, you know, so I think it's really good to flesh it out, to talk about why, you know, when am I ready? And like I know years ago, wanting guidance, praying, and then getting guided to one after the other, gradually up to Prabhupada. So if we stay sincere in that internal quest, then Krishna, the guru, original guru, will guide us.
Yeah.
And then if it's the wrong reason, then we'll learn that too and have to adjust.
Yeah. Yeah. But if we are sincere, again, in our search for the truth, nobody can stop us, and Krishna won't allow anything to stop us. Right? So we will always remain somehow connected with Guru in one form or another. Yeah. Even if at some chapters of our life that may seem like kind of interrupted or taken a new form or no form whatsoever, there's always the presence of some expression of Guru in our life if we want to be present as disciples for that presence, right? But on the contrary, you may have all your credentials in place and all your Guru affiliations in place, and you may be absent as a disciple. Right? You can even develop a superiority complex or some type of complacency, like my guru is such and such, and my Siksha guru is such and such, and you can just take for granted that because of that you are well situated and you don't need to do your part. You don't need to embrace the discipline of a disciple. Okay, what makes a disciple is a type of discipline, a type of internal work, training. Sustainable, healthy, relatable, realistic, but nonetheless, there has to be something of that. If not, it's okay, but maybe discipleship is not for you, right? We are not condemning those who are not disciples. It's just making it clear what it is. It's like, okay, I want to be a student in Oxford, Harvard University. Okay, there will be some discipline there. Oh, no, I don't want discipline. I just want to be a student in Oxford and Harvard. The point is that implies to have some discipline. No, I don't want that part. Then you don't want the other part either. So we need to get things clear. What one thing, if we are not willing or ready for that, nobody's condemning anyone here, but just not to cheat ourselves in the name of being a disciple or not being a disciple or whatever, right? Yeah.
Thank you.
Aid, thank you. Aid, I saw that you raised your hand, your digital hand some minutes ago. Now it's no longer raised, but maybe you have something to share.
Hare Krishna. Yes, I had a question regarding what you were just speaking on, but I feel like you answered my question in some ways, but also I have more questions. And I know it's 3:30, so I'm happy to come back next time to ask the question.
Can spend some more minutes because we started the whole thing like at 45 because we did the introduction, all that. So we have a few minutes to explore.
Okay.
If you can stay with us for a few more minutes, yeah.
Yes, thank you. in regards to, so I feel like I have a natural yearning for truth, but there's a fear of picking a guru. And it's related to trust, really kind of, there's a fear of putting, surrendering to someone else in such a massive way. Certainly because of anartas and even experiences within spiritual community where I've been vulnerable and it's been very painful. So I wonder how I can, and I tend to isolate, so I don't allow myself to get too close. So I'm wondering how I can kind of stay open and kind of courageous and allow the heart to kind of expand rather than get smaller when the fear does come up of especially when I think about, I mean, there have been moments or people that I've been in communication with who have said your spiritual life hasn't even begun yet because you don't have a guru. And it's my mind just, I don't know what to do with that. And I don't want to rush it either because it's such a sacred commitment. So yeah, those are just some thoughts.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. You are not alone in that, Aid. So what you're experiencing or have experienced is natural to many in the path. I think many of you, many of us have gone through that. Trust issues, betrayal issues, or as you mentioned, being vulnerable in certain circles, and that vulnerability is not properly honored. So somehow we feel trampled on our vulnerability and disempowered instead of nourished and embraced. We feel judged, we feel labeled, sometimes ostracizing, shunning, rejection, whatnot, instead of an appreciation of my vulnerability and my fragility and a warmer embrace and nourishing exactly because of that. So with this, I'm not condemning anyone, nor even the people who may have been instrumental, so to say, in those situations, but I'm just saying that not everyone is able or capable of dealing with vulnerability, but a guru should be. Because if as a guru, your role as a disciple is to be vulnerable. I speak about that in my book. Part of the duty of a disciple is to be vulnerable, and not to have to calculate and to freeze and to close and to mistrust. And I'm totally understanding if we have that, but we need to find as a guru, as our guru. And when I say as our guru, I'm not just limiting it to one person. You can have a Diksha guru. Eventually, you may have a connection with a Siksha guru, more than one Siksha guru, different cases. But my point is, to whomever we open our hearts as a guru, it has to be a person that we really trust. And of course, that doesn't happen from day to night, right? It's a process. So I wouldn't say there's rush. I wouldn't say your spiritual life hasn't even begun. That sounds for me, that those type of statements sound very dangerous, although I've heard that many times. But for me, it's very black and white thinking. And it's very dangerous because the moment you accepted the guru, now you think, okay, now I'm in. No? So it gives you some sense of superiority probably above those who are not yet initiated. But what does it mean to be initiated? Now there's, so many things we can talk about. Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Diksha Kali Bhakta Kari Atma Samarpana. At the time of Diksha, initiation, you made Sama Arpana. Sama Atma Samarpana. You made of your Atma, and Atma can mean soul, mind, body. So it means you made of all your being Sama Arpana, a full offering unto Krishna. So the question is, have I done that yet? No. I may have been initiated, but did I offer all my faculty from tip to toe to Krishna? If I didn't, probably it's not that you haven't been initiated. It's just initiation is a process, right? That begins with the day of initiation, the initiation of the initiation. But it's not that you are initiated, I am already initiated. No, no, the process has begun. It's like, again, you enter Oxford. It's not that you have your PhD already. No, you are on your way to the goal, but you have begun the process of education. So, and before the initiation process, the initiation took place, there is a whole chapter, preliminary chapter, that is equally valuable. No, so it's not that nothing is happening until you get initiated. That for me, it's not a, is a very dangerous idea, actually. As I said, if one is sincerely looking for the truth, of course, spiritual life is already there, and in one sense, one's connection with Guru is already there in the form of Krishna in one's heart, and we have to trust that Krishna will guide us to the right person at the right time. And meanwhile, of course, we have to trust, we have to work on ourselves, whatever trust issues are there, but that doesn't mean whipping myself, thinking, okay, I'm the problem, I have these trust issues, and I should trust everyone and no, I have to also be discerning, and I have to allow myself the time that I need to heal if I'm coming from a wounded place of betrayal, of abuse in some cases, or all the stuff we talked about. I may need my process of grieving and healing all that instead of just rushing and filling in my void with some quick guru acceptance. Take your time, no problem. And meanwhile, one has to pray sincerely and look for not only a guru, I will say, but also a sangha or a group of people, because it's not just me and my guru and I don't care for anyone else. Certainly that's not the, at least for me, the ideal mood, because still it's very much like me and you, like Krishna and me, guru and me, but many times, yeah, sangha is required, community is required. So where I can find a place, like-minded spirits that I can, yeah, accept it for who I am. I can be open, I can be vulnerable, and that's valued. There's no danger. I can trust, I can exercise trust and confidence in a safe space, and all that is empowering and nourishing me. We all need that. That's sadhu sangha, no? So we all need that. And meanwhile, yeah, one needs to take time. For me, it's not so much about picking a guru. No, I won't use the word picking because it sounds like going to the supermarket or something. And for me, it should be like more of an irresistible, not even a choice, not in the sense that someone is forcing me, but there's an irresistible call in some particular direction. So I'm not even feel that I'm choosing, like choosing between this and this and that, but it's just, of course I'm choosing in one sense. I'm choosing to open to that direction, and I'm choosing to hear and receive the feedback and open more feedback and open more. And I feel drawn, but it's so irresistible. It's so natural. For me, it should happen in that way. No, not like, oh, I have to pick and whom to pick. I don't know any of these guys, but I have to pick one because if I don't do that, I haven't begun my practice and I do not belong. And what will these people say about me? Because all those things come, no? All those voices that are in the mind many times. We all want to belong, right? We are willing to do anything and everything to belong. And sometimes we pay too much of a high price. So I will say try to find a group where all those voices that come from my mind are not augmented by the external environment telling me the exact same thing, no? Like validating all my neuroses. But actually the external environment is deconstructing my internal neurotic. No? And then that Sangha will tell me, relax. No, you don't need to fit in. You can be yourself. There is no rush. Concentrate on being sincere. Try to pray, trust Krishna's unconditional love. The original Guru, he will guide you. And you are fine as you are, and you continue growing in that pace. That's my opinion. Of course, I know some other people will disagree. But that's how it works for me, how it makes the whole journey sustainable after 25 years being in Krishna Bhakti, which is not too much, but 1/4 of a century, looking back and seeing so much stuff and so much people coming and going and saying so many things, and how much time you're able to keep saying those things you said and act upon that and this and that. How to make the journey sustainable, realistic, relevant, relatable. Yeah, we need our time to heal, to open again. Trust is a very sacred thing. We shouldn't do it to everyone and everyone. It has to be done in a very specific place. The person has to be skilled, qualified to deal with our vulnerability. And we will be just testing that for a moment. If it works, then we'll be testing that a little bit more. It takes time, and it's okay. Sanatana Goswami will say, and you know that, he says a few interesting things in Hari Bhakti Vilas that you have to even understand them translate them into our current situation. For example, a separate thing, and then I go to this point. He will say, before chanting japa, in order to relax your mind and be present and concentrate better, you should do pranayama for like 20 minutes. Now, he's saying that 500 years ago, speaking from a context of village life. That was for the agitation that you could receive in village life 500 years ago, you need 20 minutes of pranayama. Now translate that to our present, current, postmodern society in the city. You may need to do 26 hours of pranayama and the day already is over. So I'm not trying to get you overly concerned, but just to make a point, and then he will say, on a similar note, he will say, before accepting a guru, both guru and disciple should live together for 1 year and get to know each other. So again, how that translates today, because at that time, maybe everyone went to live with the guru, to the gurukul for a whole year. Maybe now that cannot happen. So how that translates into our current modern society, that may be even more than 1 year. It may take years. It may take a decade. What's the rush? As I was saying the other day, Srila Prabhupada accepted Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was what? Do you remember the exact, how old was he when he accepted initiation? Minimum 30-something. Minimum. And he was born in a Vaishnava family. So you could say he waited 30-something years before accepting initiation. So, I mean, should we criticize Prabhupada? Should we put pressure on him? Why you didn't got initiated at 17 or 16? Your father was a Vaishnava. You should have got initiated at 9. Everyone's journey is unique. I'm not saying those who got initiated at some age are worse than those who waited for 3 decades. It's just, again, we are already on the journey. That's the point for me. You're already on the journey. The different rites of passage that take place throughout the journey, whether it is initiation, sannyas, babaji, second initiation, so many initiations happened in life. Each one will, in each case, it will be different. Initiation is a whole topic. I won't go there because it's too long, but we are initiated by life circumstances so many times. Okay, Laurie says Prabhupada got initiated at 36 years. So again, no. So whenever someone puts pressure on you, on that, you tell, well, Prabhupada waited 36 years. No, I'm taking my time. I'm praying. I'm not escaping. As long as you know you're not escaping, as long as you know I'm not using all this as an excuse not to give myself to the truth. That's it. You have to trust that if you're sincere in your inquiry, the environment is friendly. And Krishna is orchestrating the best possible arrangement, so to say, provided we are doing our part. It's a co-creative work. And eventually that will take a particular shape. And we shouldn't be too anxious of anticipating what shape that will take specifically, because that's again part of what gets in the way. We're trying to calculate in our mind and give some shape and control the experience and anticipate, and all that is fear. Right? I want everything to be predictable, because if something is out of my control zone, I freak out. So as a disciple, we have to train ourselves in letting go and releasing and trusting and surrendering and allowing the unfolding of reality to take shape in my life. Trusting That if I'm honest and sincere, have nothing to lose. All gain is in my favor and it's happening already, right? And it will take different shapes in time. I don't know if that makes any sense, if that somehow
Yes.
validates your gut feeling, let's put it that way.
Very helpful. Thank you so much. Yeah, you said a lot, and I will definitely be looking at this again, looking at the recording. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Sri Harinam Prabhu ki jai.